The second largest economy in the world is in trouble. China is facing a growing list of problems: real estate, semiconductor bans, and labor market gyrations. The world's second most populous country also has a major youth unemployment problem.
找工作的环境太卷了。
现在待业嘛，可能每做一天，这种顾虑都会又增加一分啊。
China's statistical authorities released their economic data for the first quarter of 2023. Year-on-year GDP growth came in higher than expected at 4.5%, and it was mostly driven by household consumption, which is something the CCP have been trying to encourage for some time. However, in amongst all the good numbers was one very bad number, and that was China's youth unemployment rate, while unemployment across all age groups actually fell from 5.6 to 5.3%. The unemployment rate amongst 16 to 24-year-olds actually rose from 18 to 20%. For context, that's about significant high rate when we comparing with US and main Europe countries such as Germany. Since the end of 2022, China's urban youth unemployment rate has risen to 21%. The issue was getting so much attention that China decided to stop publishing the data altogether. China's youth employment rate now ranks with several G7 countries that have notorious problems with getting younger workers into the labor market, like Spain, Italy, and India. The world's most populated country has also been dealing with the youth unemployment problem. But China has prided itself on putting its hundreds of millions of younger, well-educated citizens to work. And the most recent data set a record for the highest youth unemployment rate ever in China. Experts point to several reasons for the slow pace of hiring for recent graduates and China's youth. One of the big reasons is labor market transformation, and government regulations on sectors, including the high-tech sector, could have really serious impacts on the employment situation today. The jobs require a college degree. On top of the damage inflicted on the job market during the pandemic, the government cracked down on the country's technology, real estate, and education industries, where educated young Chinese had flocked for jobs. The regulatory actions caused hundreds of thousands of layoffs and left companies and investors more cautious about expanding their businesses. When businesses are wary, hiring typically suffers. Alibaba, one of China's biggest technology companies, was a target of government scrutiny in 2020. Last year, it reduced its ranks by more than 10,000 employees, according to a report by the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. Country Garden, one of China's biggest listed property developers, cut more than 30,000 employees in 2022. Why unemployment youth rates are increasing? According to experts, because of the overall economic slowdown, businesses don't want to hire as many people, especially not young people, because you have to train them. And you don't know that they'll stay around. You don't even know if your business is going to be around. China's economy, along with other parts of the world, is struggling to find growth. A lot of Chinese wealth is tied to real estate, and as the housing sector grew and grew in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, homeowners saw a big increase in their net worth. Then all reversed during China's zero-COVID policy. Regulations from Beijing have forced property developers like Evergrande and Country Garden to default on their debts and eventually filed for bankruptcy. Shares have gone down based Evergrande. It began trading again on August 28. After a 17-month halt, the stock plummeted 78% in the day. One area of particular weakness is the service sector. Investment actually completed by the tertiary industry, what China's National Bureau of Statistics calls the service industry, has tapered off in the last 6 months compared to a year ago. Even imports and exports to and from the country are down in most sectors, including a 23% drop in exports to the United States and a 21% drop in exports to the European Union in July compared to last year. All while imports of crude oil dropped 21% in July from a year ago. Just year to date, the country's imports have fallen 7.6% from last year. As a result of pressures on the economy and limited spending, the Chinese government decided to cut interest rates in a very different movie than the rest of the developed world. The reason that the government's usual tools for addressing an economic slowdown may have lost some of their effectiveness. According to Capital Economics London, this will provide only modest support to credit growth and wider economic activity. So, what is the big role of the giant companies? Certainly, the internet platform companies like Alibaba, Tencent, they also saw massive growth in the last 2 decades that had driven significant demand for young people as well. And with different regulations, in the last couple years, we've seen that these industries have been clamped down on by the government, or at least restricted in a way that they're not hiring necessarily at the pace they used to, if not laying off jobs. China's policy towards some of its largest technology companies took a significant shift during COVID-19 when Xi Jinping began his 3rd term in office. In 2020, regulators suspended what would have been at the time the world's largest IPO on record from Alibaba, Shanghai, and Hong Kong exchanges, due to, quote, significant issues such as the changes in the financial technology regulatory environment. China's policy focus has been more and more on the long term, and that's why we have seen a lot of stress on economic security. And that means way more investment into the kind of technology that will be meaningful in the long term, but not so much for the short term. Artificial intelligence will be one of such examples. Just by putting more money into AI, it has the potential to replace even more workers, especially young workers in the near future. So it's not necessarily good for job creation, but it's very important for China's long-term growth. Rising youth unemployment could lead to broader problems, according to a June report from the China Macroeconomy Forum, a think tank at Renmin University of China. If it is not handled properly, it will cause other social problems beyond the economy, and it could even ignite the fuse of political problems. Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating content. Stay tuned for our next exploration into the extraordinary contents